exclusive group in the wrestling community. And now, your hosts, first, from Oahu, Puerto Rico, Macho Rodriguez, and his tag team partner from Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada, God's gift, Tyler Taylor!
¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? We're with the new episode of Must Love Wrestling, and we have a special guest, my brother from another mother, from our sister podcast, Working the Marks. We got the superstar, Bang Bang Niner Gang, baby. We got the star of the show from the other show, and here he is, Paddy Rican. How you doing, brother?
It is amazing to be here, bro. Thank you so much for finally having me on. I know we've been talking about me debuting on this program for quite some time. It's also great to be on a show where you don't have to worry about a copyright infringement opening montage there, an intro, you know, because the other show that I'm on, I mean, it's like I'm shocked we haven't been pulled or flagged for that yet, but, you know, I guess we're lucky. Maybe it's a little bit of stroke and pull that we got over there, you know, up in Stanford. But, yeah, no, great to be with you here, man, and really, really, really excited to talk about, obviously, Payback and, you know, pretty much most of what went on there and bring you people some good analysis.
Absolutely, man. As for the intro, honestly, I just grabbed the voice app on my phone and I was like, I'm gonna get my Mean Gene, my Tony Shyamalan. You could hear it in the Taylor at the end. I was like, I'm just gonna do that and send it to D, and he really liked it, so he set us up with the sound in the background. And I was like, all right, this is dope. I always figured I would introduce my own show like that. So I'm pretty excited about it. But yeah, man, let's get to Saturday wrestling. Holy crap. We had wrestling actually started at 7 p.m. last night. Why don't we do a quick little Collision recap? We don't need to go into it. There were a couple things I wanted to talk about. But so did you happen to catch Collision last night or anything about it?
I did not. I collided with the couch to watch WWE, and then I collided on the couch to go to sleep. That was the only collision that was in my life last night.
Nah, that's cool. I mean, it was a really generic episode of Collision. Once again, I'm met with the same question as where is Swerve Strickland? That was kind of like my biggest thing. He wasn't even mentioned. He wasn't talked about. And after a monumental win that he gets over one of the young, you know, one of the elite, you would think that they would capitalize off that. But it looks like they're throwing all of their eggs in the Edge basket. It's all about Edge right now. And I'm curious, what's your take on that? Why do you think that's a good business move?
Well, I mean, look, you know, you got to play the cards you got while you got them, right? Realistically speaking, Swerve Strickland's going to be around for a while. Edge, the window is kind of limited. We don't know how many years exactly, but it's probably in the 3 million range. It's obviously what WWE wasn't going to give him. And I just feel like you got to maximize it. You got to try and get as much star power as you can there. He's got a matchup coming up with Bryan Danielson, right? That's going to be in the middle of the week. That's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
I am so in for that. When you texted me about that, I was like, yes, literally, yes. Because this is the kind of matchup that Swerve Strickland needs, and Bryan Danielson is the kind of guy to give him the match that he needs. And
absolutely,
I think that this is a perfect marriage of styles, of talent, and that's a matchup that I really, really, really am looking forward to. But you kind of get the feeling that for as much as Swerve Strickland is an integral part of the future of AEW or the short-term future, whatever you want to call it, it seems like Ricky Starks is the guy for Collision.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. And let's start right there. I mean, the show opens up with an impromptu tag match. I don't believe this was advertised at all. And we have the FTR, Heart Foundation Light, as we like deem them. And they're wrestling one of my personal, I would say, closet favorites, which is Big Bill. I'm a fan of his. I was a fan of his when he was Big Cass. I thought he was money to me. I thought if you're going to build around a big guy, this is the guy to do it. And he's wrestling. It's Big Bill and Ricky Starks. And dude, new tag champs. What is going on?
Yeah. So I saw that this morning because obviously I wasn't watching that live. I was watching the other program, but that was a bit shocking. I mean, when I saw that they lost, I was like, oh, well, they probably lost like what do they call them? The Contender Series or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yep.
Oh, those kind of matches. I figured they lost something like that.
Hmm.
And then I saw it was a squash almost. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you would describe it as a squash then. Okay.
No
So
question.
because I was curious about that because when I saw it was a squash, I was like, oh, so they probably did a non-title match squash to get them
Hmm.
to have a match at like Full Gear or something, right?
Yeah.
Then I see it's for the tag titles, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty shocking. But if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because what did we just get done with? The Young Bucks and FTR. What did it look like
Yeah.
to be again? The Young Bucks and FTR. Young Bucks are obviously faces in this situation, so you got to think that they wanted a heel team to be the one to face the Bucks for the tag title. So, in essence, it kind of does make sense, but I certainly didn't expect it to happen last night.
Yeah, yeah. As From the Dungeon says here, oh, we're speaking in blasphemy now, doing a show on a Sunday. I apologize, Uribe. I apologize, but if you're gonna start complaining about Sundays, we're just gonna go back to calling
Yeah.
you Umberto, Poppy.
Well,
So
these Ricans work weekends, all right?
that's right,
So,
baby. That's right, we
that's
do.
that.
But yeah, I was really shocked, and not to jump too much further into it, but let's talk about the rumor that is circulating almost immediately after the loss of the tag titles, which is that FTR has requested their release from AEW. I mean, you would think that the fact that Edge and Christian have gone as far back as their show, the Edge and Christian Reeking of Awesomeness podcast, they talked about FTR and how they might possibly be their favorite tag team in the world. This was before they were even considered a top tag team. So I thought, okay, now Edge is there. They have like their version of a CM Punk. Like this guy can continue that. And running in the back there. And I just thought to myself, why not do this? And well, I guess not. I guess they want to follow him to his next endeavor. What's your thoughts on the potential of them asking for a release?
Well, I mean, a lot of things. They have been known to work people. They have
Hmm.
been known to work angles to gain interest. They're smart in the sense that they understand what they need to do to get people invested in what they're doing. But
Hmm.
I don't know if I don't know if that's what I think is going to happen right now.
Hmm.
Um, I see them sticking around. I mean, if they did in fact ask for their release, something's going on because I mean
Absolutely.
those guys are like they look like ride or die, AEW ride or die. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like they look like
absolutely.
lifers.
Hmm.
And if it is in fact true that they asked for their releases, then obviously the WWE has tabled an offer. And
Hmm.
obviously the WWE is working on something, which with CM Punk now being a free agent, what could we see? Could we possibly see as From the Dungeon with Stu Hart podcast is saying here, CMFTR, comforter.
Yeah,
So a lot of people don't never make that connection, comforter. That's what it looks
comforter. Yeah, I like it. I like
like.
it.
But it does make you wonder. But again, let's give it a little bit of time because we do know
Hmm.
sometimes that when these things come out in the wrestling media, you got to give it a little bit. You got to see who the sources are. And then if
Yeah.
you see that, the more legitimate mainstream outlets are talking about it, then you kind of have an idea that, okay, maybe there's something to this. So I would just say for now, stay tuned, see what's up. But if it is in fact true, wow. I mean, that is then that would, to me, would be a testament that there is a major problem brewing within AEW.
Yeah, I mean, I want to touch on two more things before we wrap up and we move over to Payback, but we got to talk about Bryan Danielson's match because not very many people could stop me from watching WWE. And I was watching this match and it went over into Payback's opening match. And it was Bryan Danielson versus one half of Aussie Open Kyle Fletcher. And Pat, I'm telling you, this match was amazing, bro. And I don't understand. I don't know what was happening if Kyle Fletcher said, yo, I need you to just nail me, hit me snug. But when you watch this match, you're going to see a different version of Bryan. I mean, we've been following his offense for over 20 years. This guy doesn't throw chops. That's not a thing for him. Dude, he was chopping. It was chop, kick in the corner. And it was like brutal. He was definitely nailing him. He wailed up his chest. I was like, these guys are going at it. Bryan gave him a ton of work. It was a really solid match, about 20-25 minutes for television. They definitely wanted to go over into FastLane. What do you think about Bryan Danielson doing the most with one half of Aussie Open?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. That's the first thing that jumps out to me. I caught the highlights on it. I also saw a lot of retweets, I guess. I don't know what the re-X is. I don't know what they call it now.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of it on X, and yeah, man. I mean, I'm not surprised. This is what Bryan Danielson does. This is what Bryan Danielson's doing at this stage in his career. He's giving back so much to wrestling because wrestling gave so much to him. He's a dude who's incredibly humble, who's incredibly grateful, understands what's going on. I think to some extent, I think he knows what's going on with AEW. He understands that it is not something that's going to be sustainable in the long term. And well, at least he spelled trader right this time. But you know,
This fucking guy.
it just reinforces that, you know, Danielson is looking at the young crop of talent and saying, hey, you got something? You think you got it? Come on, let's go. Let's show him. Let's show him. Because if AEW folds eventually or hypothetically or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You got to think that WWE is going to be checking out that talent. And they already are checking out that talent.
Yeah.
But whichever talent sticks out and proves that they can perform at a high level with a high level talent, you're going to get consideration. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So to me, this is just a testament to Danielson's legacy, what's going to be his legacy when he finally hangs it up. And, you know, this is a dude who again is giving back to the business in the best way possible. He's just, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe for guys like us, because, you know, we've been following him for so fucking long. I think for guys like us, we understand and we know what he's about. You know, you've read his book. I've read his book. Like,
yes,
you know, like,
absolutely.
You get insight into like the way he is, the interviews. I've met him. I've talked to him. I hung out with him. I hung out with him before he was.
Oh, I didn't hang out with him, but I met him and talked to him. Yeah.
Well, when I worked at Jacob, you know, Bernie and I were hanging out with him, and you know, it was just to see him the way he was. The guy was incredibly humble. He was just a funny guy. He's an interesting guy, a nice guy. Like, he wasn't a fucking dickhead. And he had some buzz going on at the time. You know, he had some buzz. He was the top independent wrestler at the time, you know, or one of them at least.
The best in the world. The original moniker.
Well, this was pre-best in the world, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so this is when he was still using self-esteem.
This is pre-Ring of Honor. This is pre-Ring of Honor. Okay. You know, this is like, you know, probably, yeah, like the last year before Ring of Honor. And I remember hearing about Ring of Honor and people saying that, you know, RF Video wanted to start up a wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
And that they were going to take all the best talent from all of the different territories, the indie territories around the country, and they were going to bring them to the East Coast to have these big shows like once every 3 months or something, you know? And Gabe Sapolsky was going to be involved. All these people, all these ECW people, because that's what it was. It was just ECW people. And they were going to put this together. And, you know, again, being around Danielson, seeing the way he was, seeing him make fun of AJ even back then, making fun of AJ because of the way he speaks, his accent, his Southern accent. You know, Danielson also making fun of the fact that AJ was a male cheerleader and that's how he met his wife.
Yeah, that's funny. That's
you know, he was just, dude, he was just a regular guy, but it was so cool. And again, I think just for people who know Bryan Danielson, who have followed his career, who know the person and understand the person, this is a guy that, you know, this is him. Like, this is who he is. What he's doing right now in that wrestling ring is him.
Absolutely.
And he's going to continue to do that until he hangs it up. I don't know if necessarily he's gonna really, like, you know, retire like the way people think. I think he's going to perhaps slow down. He's going to become more of an attraction wrestler, which he could be. But where he does that remains to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely see him moving over to like the Undertaker type of wrestling, where when he wrestles, that is going to be like the main deal, where it's like, all right, Bryan's wrestling on the show, let's all tune in and watch. But yeah, if we could just jump over to the last thing I wanted to talk about before we talk about Fastlane here. We're seeing a little bit of a role reversal here with MJF. Now he's not on television. Jay White has kind of taken the reins and just gone out there and done his thing. He cuts a really great promo on MJF. And I'm met with this. You and I have discussed Jay White previously. We've talked about that. It's kind of like early Seth Rollins. There's something missing about this kid. He's really good, but there's something missing. I'm watching him right now just tear up MJF in a way that only Ricky Starks has done before. And I wonder, like, is this the next guy? Because right now he's stolen the title. He very hilariously offered a title eliminator match to Adam Hangman Page on Title Tuesday this week. As he's walking with the world title, and I'm thinking to myself, he's more interesting than MJF has been his entire run, and it's so young into the Bullet Club. Like, are we getting Bullet Club here in the States, a real Bullet Club? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Jay White is a guy that like I was kind of on the fence about. I wasn't sure about how he was going to translate to the American audience. Obviously, and really more of a casual audience in a sense, because there are people that are going to check stuff out, even if they have a minor interest in wrestling. If they hear something's funny somewhere or something's interesting, they're going to go check it out.
Yeah.
His promos were always kind of meh to me. I think the ones in Japan, because mainly it was just cursing. It was cheapy.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
Just like, I want to see more than that. I want to see you be creative. The Bullet Club Gold, I just think is fantastic. And it's
absolutely
a great foundation for potentially, to your point, what a Bullet Club in the United States could become.
Yeah.
We've had different versions of it, but it's never had money thrown behind it like it could now.
Yeah.
And I think them doing that, not only provides a different stable, maybe perhaps an opportunity for these guys to do more. But it also creates future matches for like Forbidden Door, since they have that relationship with New Japan. Why not get Dave Finley's Bullet Club to take on Jay White's Bullet Club? Now you open up the possibilities. Is a bum just like who's the Puerto Rican ROH champ?
Eddie Kingston. That was a slight to me. Well, to you as well, because he's a Puerto Rican champion.
Yeah.
Listen, Puerto Rican is one word. Just to tell you, Puerto Rican is one word. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I look at Jay White as a potential for the future. I'm excited for what he could bring to professional wrestling alone. I definitely look at him as a guy that would actually do really well having worked somebody like a Bryan, just because I feel like Bryan could get him to that next level. So let's hope that we get a feud somewhere in the end. Maybe that's one of Bryan's last feuds, but I guess we'll see.
Just real quick here, just to kind of close that, because I think that he's improved. I think he's come a long way. I think Juice Robinson has helped out a lot because he's a great character. I think the Guns have helped out a lot. I think that whole group is fantastic. And I also feel like perhaps maybe MJF might get more into acting, because I know he's lending his voice to something soon recently.
Well, he is in the Iron Claw movie.
Yeah. See, so look at that. So I can see him doing more stuff like that. I can see him kind of veering away from wrestling. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they put the title on Jay White just to see how it goes. I mean, it wouldn't be any worse than MJF or Adam Page have done as champion, like in terms of like not really generating a whole heck of a lot of interest outside the hardcores. But no, we've certainly seen an ascendancy in personality and in performance from Jay White.
The last thing I'll say about Jay White before we start talking about Fastlane here is we do need to remember that AEW was not his first choice. He was going to be signed and sent right to the main roster, right? In WWE. They had plans for him. He chose to go to AEW at the last second. I don't know why. We don't know what the ins and outs were, but we do know that an offer was set in place, and apparently it just came too late. He had signed his contract. So it was very reminiscent of Seth Rollins possibly going to Impact. Maybe he had his version of a Jim Cornette. Somebody called him and said, here, we're going to throw you this extra $500K if you come here. And, coming from Japan, he's probably thinking like money talks. Let me just go here and make my name. He's young enough to where he could build his legacy now, or kind of somewhat if to the hardcores, and then eventually move over to like Triple H and stuff. But I would not be surprised if in the next couple of years, Jay White is a multiple time world champion in AEW. And then he realizes, this company's not really doing anything for me. Let me go over to the big leagues. So I would not be surprised with that at all.
Hopefully we get a Jay White versus Swerve Strickland world title feud.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be great. Cool. Yeah. Massive Swerve fans here, guys. All right. Well, let's jump over to Fastlane, guys. Now, Fastlane was a really solid show. I mean, honestly, what did it have? 18,000 people in attendance. It took place in Indianapolis, Indiana. And as Triple H said yesterday at the end during the scrum, he said that this was their highest profit that they've ever had in this stadium. And this is a stadium that hosted WrestleMania 7, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. Before we get started talking about it, what do you think that means to you? The fact that a just like a regular in your house type of pay-per-view outdid all of those big names, like core pay-per-views.
I'm not surprised, man. This is again a testament to WWE, their character development, their presentation, where the product's at right now. Everything is firing on all cylinders. You look at the bloodline, the totality of that entire storyline, all the little branches that spawned off of it, and look at how everybody's just flourishing. Everybody's just in a great fucking spot. So again, this is just a testament to WWE's creative, the talent, the talent rising to the occasion, understanding the task at hand, and everybody just being on the same page and performing and just being fucking professionals, man. And you got to give it up to them, man, because it just gets better and better and better and better, you know? So again, I'm not surprised at all. Not surprised.
No, not at all. So before we get things started, we have I want to say an Escalade or some kind of big Buick is just rolls up to the arena, and we see the silver boots, and very reminiscent of Aurora, we have a Storm-like figure. For those of you that don't read comics, Aurora is actually Storm from X-Men, and that is clearly the character that Jade Cargill wants to bring to professional wrestling. It works really well for her. She's got the silver hair, the silver gear. She looked like $1,000,000, man. She approaches Triple H. They shake hands. They walk to the arena together. It is the only time we get her until Triple H talks about her after the show during the media scrum. But what did you think of the way that she was presented this quickly into her signing?
Superstar.
Absolutely.
Superstar. That's what I saw. I saw a superstar. I saw an action figure. I saw t-shirts. I saw merch. I saw a star. That's what I fucking saw. From the moment that she stepped out of that car, everything about her screams star. You know what I'm saying? So what was up with that outfit? She borrowed it from you. That's what's up with that outfit.
I mean, my guy, are you watching our show or not? I just went into why she wore that outfit like 30 seconds ago. What the hell? Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, man. It was just incredible though, man. So I mean that right there, and you heard the pop in the crowd. You heard the pop in the crowd.
100%.
Dude, it's just, this is gonna be so exciting when it finally happens. This is, I mean, there's so much good shit on the horizon for the company. So many just little seeds, so many little things that are coming soon that are going to be so good. So I'm just enjoying everything as it comes. I'm enjoying the moments as they come, but she's going to be somebody who's going to be creating a lot of big moments very soon.
100%. I agree with you there. So let's jump right into the opening match. We have the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus Cody Rhodes and main event Jey Uso. Right off the bat, I got to tell you, the crowd reaction for this was insane. Jey Uso is one of the most over superstars in recent memory. Obviously, Cody's so over that they're singing his song. He's getting the Seth Rollins treatment on a show he's not even on, right? I mean, that's exciting in itself. And obviously, Finn and Damian, pros. We're big fans of both of them here on the show. I'm sure you are as well. And we see this match. They go about 20 minutes of solid. I mean, it started off kind of slow. They were feeling each other out. I think Cody and Jey kind of had to get used to the fact that they're a tag team now. So that's really hard for you to work with them immediately. I was very excited with what I saw, though. I mean, what stuck out for you in this match?
The finish.
Really?
The finish, that pop. Well, okay. So just this, and this kind of coincides with what you just said, right? They don't really know each other as a tag team.
Yes.
They haven't really worked together. The timing for them to get that Cody cutter into the 1-2, I mean, and you saw the place explode when they hit that, you know, and then just the Crossroads finish, 1, 2, 3. I mean, that was amazing. But I would say more also, you know, along with that, the entrances, to your point. I mean, they're all piped in pop.
I don't think so.
No, absolutely.
There were too many people going live on TikTok that were in Indianapolis yesterday that you could hear the pop over what was happening in the ring.
Those are two of the most over guys, two of the biggest merch sellers. Okay. These guys are stars. There's nothing piped in. There's nothing
Absolutely.
taped in. You know what I mean? You heard that. You heard the pop. And again, testament to the bloodline. 2 more of the little branches that were involved with or as part of it. Look at how big they're becoming. Look at the quality of the match. The quality of the match was amazing, man.
Mhm.
The psychology, the run-ins, everything that they did, the big spots, breaking them up. I thought it was just such a perfect, classic, old school fucking wrestling match
Yes.
with 4 talents that are on a really high level right now. And all the people involved just added to it and just created one hell of a match. The fans were into. I mean, that to me, I would say, for me, it was match of the night. It was match of the night.
Agreed. Oh, 100%. Yes, I agree with you. I gave this match like 5 empanadas. I thought this was perfect. I was hooked. I went from watching Bryan Danielson to starting, to jumping over to Peacock and watching this, and I thought to myself, dude, I just watched 40 minutes of phenomenal wrestling in a row. And 2 different promotions, and I thought to myself, they could not have capitalized better than this. I mean, honestly, I like the structure of the card as well. I think this was a great way to get the crowd excited because now you have the surprise of brand new tag champions. Exactly what you said. The finish was beautiful. I do think that the crossroads at the end after that was a little unnecessary because I felt like this should be their finisher. Now, I don't know if they could pull it off all the time, but
that's fair. But again, perception, what's the old saying? Perception is reality. So Cody is the top guy. Cody is the dude, right? So you also have to throw in, that extra little bit of spice with Cody just to remind the fans, even though they already know this guy's the guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you look at any top guy, the way they were booked, it was the same shit. Hogan, Rocky, Austin, Cena. You know what I'm saying? They all did the same shit. So I'm with you. I understand that. I think perhaps as the more we go along, we're gonna see that. Obviously, we got Cody coming up on NXT. I'm gonna throw a prediction out here. I think his announcement on NXT is that him and Jey Uso are gonna be in the Dusty Classic.
Ooh, that would be amazing. Let's give us that. Absolutely. I love that. Why don't we stop there and jump right over into the next match, which is Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, all wearing new gear. So they're slowly moving over to being a faction now. First, we have the same, like all of the black and gold gear. So they're rocking the New Orleans Saints colors, which is weird because Bobby Lashley's a Broncos fan. And we're watching this type of stuff, right? And then we see Rey Mysterio once again, which is, I know you and I have had in-depth conversation about this one specific thing I just don't understand. So maybe you can tell the audience here. Yeah, ese pendejo ahí. Why Rey Mysterio is in this group? Why he's the leader of this faction, and yet he gets his own separate entrance? Like, we have the LWO come out, we have Santos and Zelina Vega come out, and then we have Rey Mysterio Jr. come out separately. And the match starts as a 2-on-1. I mean, what do you think of the beginning of this match? Did you like where we get to?
I liked it because you know what? You built up the anticipation of the pop, right? Hold on a sec. I'm trying to get my mic stand going on here because I'm tired of pulling the Dave Meltzer and holding this the whole time. But what I liked about it was like they built the anticipation towards the pop, towards the big return. And I thought that was really cool, right? Because you kind of felt like the crowd was a little deflated. You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of felt like the crowd was like, "Ah, man," because everybody was really like banking on some kind of return, something happening. And I like the way that they toyed with the fans' emotion, especially after you had this big emotional moment with these new tag team champions crowned with the 2 biggest, arguably, well, in my opinion, the 2 biggest faces in the company. And you had this great moment. You don't want to. There's nothing worse in wrestling than being the person who has to come out after a match that gets a big pop.
Absolutely.
Like a match of the night. You know what I'm saying? It's a shitty spot, and production, the booker, everybody has to be aware of that, and they have to be aware of the potential of something like that happening. So they have to be able to follow up those matches with something good. So I'm sure they probably said, you know what? Let's delay his entrance.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, let's have him come in for the hot tag.
100%. And I love the way they did it. Santos gets knocked off the apron, and Rey Mysterio is looking for a tag, and he has nobody to tag. And just when you think that they're not going to do it, Carlito returns. You hear it. That's cool, man. And I don't know if I know this correctly. Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think it's Danza Kuduro by Don Omar? It
could be.
sounded like that, like
It
the
could
Fast
be.
and the Furious song, right?
It could be. It could
Because
be.
I know
You know?
Donald Marr is a big wrestling fan too, so I'm wondering if he lent his like lyrics to or his catchy tune to Carlito. I thought he looked like $1,000,000, man. I
Dude.
immediately jumped on WWE Shop.
Yeah.
By the time you had sent me that thing, I already bought that shirt, bro. I already bought that shit. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, oh man, I'm excited. My guy is back. This is so exciting. He looks like $1,000,000, and the way he was presented as big time. He looks just as big as Bobby Lashley. I love the finish. He goes over on the worst of the two Street Profits, and we get to
What?
have.
You
Yeah,
think
I'm a big Angelo Dawkins fan, bro.
Okay, okay. So time out here. Time out here. I got two remaining. Since we're going football theme today. So this is my thing. I think both of them are incredibly talented.
Agreed.
As far as charisma is concerned, you know, Montez really jumps out. He gets it. He gets the assignment. He's good with the crowd interaction. His physique is fantastic. The way he took that Super Frankensteiner, he bumped it on his back. He didn't go on his ass. He took that bump beautifully, perfectly. The timing. There was a little bit of communication going on up there while they were doing it before they finally did the spot.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the fact that this dude is able to pick up very complex things and complex bumps in such a short period of time is great. And there was a point in time where both of these guys, you looked at them and you said, okay, Dawkins is Marty. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of thought that was going to happen. But then what happened? Dawkins hit the gym, started working out more, started getting in great shape. He changed his gear. Bro, I'm calling it now. Before SummerSlam, I think he's going to ditch the top, man. And they're both going to be shirtless because they're both going to be fucking brolic and jacked. The dude gets it. He understands it. Both of those guys get it. They both understand it. They both understand the opportunity working with Bobby. And I like it. I like the potential of it. But I think they're both equally talented young guys, man.
Yeah. One thing I want to say is credit to Chris Masters. Carlito he's pointed him out that he is his workout warrior. That is the guy who helps him get the physique that he has now. He is non-gas related. This is all natural. Carlito's always kind of been like a thicker guy. You could tell from looking at him, his physique, he looks great. The one thing I'll say about Angelo and Montez before we move over to the women's title match is Montez Ford he looked like he was ready for the spotlight right away. And the reason that I feel like I'm a bigger fan of Angelo Dawkins is because we're growing with him. It's almost like the Derek Jeter syndrome. Like we got to watch him from a baby grow into the superstar he became. And that's what I'm watching. We've seen flashes like him checking Braun Strowman at WrestleMania. Like we've seen things like that. Like we're watching him slowly, but I've been able to watch them live at the Hollywood at the holiday tour here in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I've thought to myself, man, he just sticks out to me. There's just something about him. I don't know what it is. Even when they mean mug the audience, he looks like a mean dude. And I really think people should pay attention to Angelo Dawkins as well. I'm not going to post that last comment in this chat. I'm sorry. But yeah, let's move over to the women's world title match. And this match gets started off with a bang, and it is Io Sky versus Asuka versus Charlotte Flair. And what a way to get started. It was very reminiscent of the triple threat match with Triple H, John Cena, and Shawn Michaels, where immediately we take out the person that the fans don't want to win the match, right? Yeah. So right away, Asuka hits Charlotte with the mist. She goes outside, and then we get this beautiful like exchange between Asuka and Io Sky right away before Charlotte comes in and just tears the house down. Because after that mist, she took the fuck over. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, no, it makes sense though with the psychology of the match because I mean, look, it's obvious that Charlotte's bigger. She's stronger, right? She has great technique too. The other two, you know, you're talking about two Joshis that came from Stardom and the stuff that we saw them mix up with the arm drag exchanges and everything. That was all Stardom stuff. You know, the timing, everything was perfect. I mean, dude, Kana's just so good, yo. She's just so amazing. I love her character work. I love how much she dedicates herself to it. Her facial expressions. She never slips for a moment. You know,
no.
Io, another fantastic talent. I love the way they sold it on the outside with Charlotte, like just screaming because the stinging in her eyes and the refs are there helping her and she's washing her eyes out. They took her right out of the match for a while. And just everything about the match, the way it progressed, I thought was really, really, really well done. You're talking about three of the best women in the world, dude. And
Absolutely.
it felt big time. It felt big time. At no point in time did I feel like I was watching just another match. You know, it just everything about it. I thought it was agented so well. It was produced so well. They understood what the assignment was. And again, just a further testament to the professionalism of WWE and what they're bringing in the program and they're producing.
100%. And I'd also like to give some credit to the people that have been booking this match on house shows as well, because that lends to us getting a better premium live event match. I'll bring it back to a couple of years ago. I was lucky enough to go to a WWE event where I got to watch Malachi Black versus Buddy Matthews. And I got to watch them, and it was weird. I went to 2 back-to-back shows, right? And the both of them were working, and I was like, well, the second match is better than the first match. And then all of a sudden we had those string of Raw matches, and I was like, well, here we go. Because they're working each other so consistently, these two they're giving us a better produced television match. So I love the fact that we've been able to see that match in the house shows, and now by the time it got here, it was great. The one thing I'll say, which I want to speak to, is Charlotte Flair gets abrasion above her nose during her match with Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series. She comes in after being injured and just flips a switch. She gets dropped on her head against Rhea Ripley. In their WrestleMania match, they come in and they steal the whole show. That's my personal opinion. I know a lot of people don't agree. They love the tag match. And she comes in and steals the whole show. And then yesterday, I am just of the mindset from what I saw, either Charlotte has developed into the Brie Larson of the WWE, or she legitimately forgot to close her fucking eyes. Because it looked to me like the tears, like the way her eyes were red, it almost felt like she forgot that she was going to get misted that early, and she forgot to close her eyes, and she really got shit in her eyes. And it was like, all right, if Charlotte just sustained an injury, if that was legit, she just came in and started tearing the house down. Because one thing I've noticed about Charlotte in the past is her chops are more shoulder based, right? Whenever she chops the women, they're more shoulder based. Dude, she was whacking like Asuka straight in the middle of the chest. I was thinking to myself, and that forearm, you and I bitch about the forearms all the time in conversations. Wrestling punches are gone. When she forearmed her and got her in the corner, I was like, this feels a little snug. It was almost like she gave her a receipt, and it's not really Asuka's fault because you didn't close your eyes. You know what I mean? Mick Foley says it all the time. It's the person that takes the move that is actually the person that's in charge of how the move is presented. So, but it definitely felt like it turned it on. Do you think that after the mist, things changed, or am I just reading too much into it?
I think that they did a great job at selling that. I think that's what they did. I think she's, I was watching that match and I was thinking to myself, man, Charlotte would be so great in Japan, like working with these Stardom girls, just like the personality that she has, the way that she's able to work with these girls. And to your point, the forearms, they were a little snug. There was a couple potatoes in there. You're working with Japanese women, like you got to fucking hang. Like you're going to get forearmed. You're going to get beat up. You're going to get stretched. That's just the way it is. Like, I mean, all three women understood the assignment. You know what I'm saying? They all understood the assignment. And, it's like every time I see Charlotte work with Japanese talent, it's just incredible, man. Like the way she's able to adapt to any style. She's able to do everything. She does it well. You know what I'm saying? Just awesome match, man. Awesome match. And then the finish, if I recall correctly, obviously you could sum it up a lot better than I could.
Yeah, no, I don't think I can, brother. But so it has Charlotte. She puts the figure 8 on Asuka, and just when you think all is lost and Asuka's about to tap because she has tapped to that move at WrestleMania before, and the crowd is on its feet.
Didn't we have the Bailey run in? Didn't we have the Bailey?
Oh yes, we did have a Bailey run in, and she kind of like she puts Io in a bad situation because Io tells her in a previously recorded segment that she's going to do this on her own. She has her own plan. Charlotte gives her the running boot, very reminiscent of Test, and it looked brutal. Io sells it really well, but really it's to set up the finish. Asuka tries to jump off the top rope. She gets caught by Charlotte Flair. She gets put in the figure 8, and as Charlotte is in the figure 8 in full bridge position, Io hits the moonsault. How Charlotte is able to time that correctly to get her arms out of the way to me is just one of the most beautiful things I've seen in wrestling. And it was such a great finish. Io gets that big time win over Charlotte. She didn't beat Asuka. She beat Charlotte. That's the second time they've been in a title match where she's the one who pinned Charlotte. If you go back to the triple threat match in NXT for the world title, when she won that NXT championship, she pinned Charlotte there too. I kind of like the story being told there, almost like this is the one person Charlotte can't beat. We've never had that before.
I love it. I think it's a great way to put over a young talent. And look, when I say young, I mean like she's not very well known to the American audience, but she's getting over more and more.
Yeah.
I love, the potential for rematches here with Charlotte, with Asuka, and then just that brewing background feud with Bailey.
100%.
Slowly but surely simmering. Where's Dakota going to be in the middle of all of this? I love all of the stuff that's going on, and you can obviously tell that WWE is very happy with Io Shirai in that role.
100%.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I do that as well too. There have been reports from different wrestling pundits and different wrestling like Twitter pages and stuff that WWE is super satisfied and they're very happy with everything Io is doing. Obviously, she's a massive fan favorite. We saw her take over Puerto Rico against Bianca Belair, which is really hard to do because Bianca's one of the biggest baby faces in the history of the women's division. And for her to get the reaction she did and get the crowd to pop behind her, I thought that was really interesting. But let's move on to the specialty tag match, which had Jimmy, just the other Uso, and Solo Sikoa versus John Cena and LA Knight. They were given about 17 minutes here, same as the women's match. They were given 17 minutes, 20 seconds. And what did you think initially of this match? Were there any takeaways from
it? Again, what we talked about before, what I mentioned before, more branches of the bloodline, more stories coming from that angle. And look, I mean, I know when people said that this was the best angle in probably in the last 25 years and in wrestling history, you gotta start to look at this stuff and you gotta think to yourself, yeah, it's true. Because with the NWO, you got a payoff, but it never did what this did. This is creating and making new guys out of all of this stuff. And we're not even at the payoff yet. You know what I mean? We're not even at the payoff yet. So, I thought Jimmy and Solo were great. I love the way that they're presenting Solo. I think he's doing a great job in the role that he's in. You kind of forget that this guy hasn't been around all that long. He's another guy who kind of carries himself like a veteran, but I mean, he's Samoan, so I'm not surprised. Jimmy doing great as the Weasley scumbag heel. I think he's really settling into that role well.
Yeah.
John Cena, your comments are getting fucking boring. John Cena just being John Cena and just doing his thing, and the thing for me was like watching Cena work from underneath to build to that hashtag tonight.
Oh my, I'm so glad you said that. Yes.
Yeah, that was interesting. But what I love about it is that you think about it, John Cena's old now. Like he's not. Yeah. That's not Super Cena anymore. So they're kind of doing that, and LA Knight, he worked well with Cena in the position that they were in as a babyface tag team. He's a guy who obviously has a connection with the fans. I see him more as a mid-card babyface, like a top mid-card babyface, like the mid-card babyface. But do I see him as popular, as over as Jey Uso or Cody? No, I don't see that.
No
yet.
Question. No,
and he's a guy who I still think is, he needs his moment. He needs his.
Yeah.
John Cena said he's leaving once the strike. Did he text you that or
no? Like, he not to give from the dungeon anything because I don't know if he's like on it today or whatever, but John Cena did talk about this during the media scrum after, and he said he will not be able to do both, and once Hollywood calls him back, he will have to go back to Hollywood.
Yeah, because he was in the middle of a production when all this happened. He was making a movie, and
he also has to finish Peacemaker season 2, and I know that they were in production for that as well.
Oh yeah, no, that has to happen. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna push back a little bit on the John Cena thing because you said
sure.
Cena, and I was actually I actually you wound up wrapping it up really well. I don't think Cena was Cena. I think he really worked. Like he was the guy. He kind of played the Shawn Michaels role. Like I'm gonna take all of the brunt,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna let LA Knight get the hot tag and get the big victory. I thought this match was really well done. I just really. I guess what I'm missing from it is I don't really understand the dynamic of Solo and Jimmy because right now Jimmy's like that guy who's like talking at his ear a lot, and Solo is like he's not giving him anything in return. Now that might be the goal. Is like I'm gonna play the straight man here. I'm gonna be the guy like I'm gonna be Murtaugh, where I'm not gonna give you anything. And if that's the role being done, then that's perfect. But other
Right.
than that, I kind of feel like this match was all about making LA Knight. But I agree with you. WWE needs, for it to be successful, they need to have enhancement talent and they need to have mid-carders. And unfortunately, for all of the people that don't want to agree with this, LA Knight is a mid-card talent. He is not a guy that's going to win the Royal Rumble. He's not a guy that's going to be future world champion. It's just not going to happen. And if he is a world champion, we're going to get the Dolph Ziggler treatment. It's going to be 1 month. He's going to be a transition champion. I don't believe that he can sustain this level of excitement with the audience. And we just saw what real over means. He was in the ring, and when Cody came in, it was all about Cody. You're in the ring with Cody, and he got it. So I mean, you can say what you want about LA Knight, but I definitely feel like he's not as over as everybody thinks he is.
I to piggyback on what you're saying, I think with Cody and with Jay, I think a big part of the reason why they're so over is because we've seen character progression from them.
Absolutely.
We've seen so many different layers. We've seen vulnerability, we've seen confidence, we've seen dominance, we've seen all of these different things from the both of them. And with LA Knight, we've kind of just seen his shtick. We've kind of seen him just do his thing. And look, it's good. Not everybody's going to be the guy at the same time. But this is obviously a guy that they see potential in, and he could be a very solid mid-card face, Again, for me, the big thing missing with him is he needs his moment. He needs a defining moment. He needs to have a match that changes his perception. From what's reported, it's looking like it's going to be him because he did get the pin in the match. And I did mention this on Working the Marks. As for Billy Body, this was reported as per the dirty sheets. This was reported that LA Knight was going to get this win and that it was going to be LA Knight taking on Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia. As it stands, that's what it looks like. But I think ultimately, in this matchup, I think Jimmy is going to end up getting kicked out of the bloodline, and it's just going to be Solo, Heyman, and Roman. And by the way, just one more thing here. I just want to put over Heyman big time, because without Roman around, Paul Heyman stopped dyeing what little bit of hair he has left, and his hair's turning white.
Yeah.
So he's making it look like he's stressed more, and the commentators put it over too. And that popped me. So, I mean, unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, maybe LA Knight gets his defining moment. Maybe Roman puts him on the map, and then we finally get what we get. I mean, when you're in the ring with the best in the company, that's what's going to happen. But speaking of best in the company, let's talk about the main event of the evening, which was a little bit shocking to me because I thought for sure LA Knight and John Cena were going to close the show, but I was pretty happy. We get about a 28-minute match, a last man standing match between Seth freaking Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura. This match was very solid. There were a couple of things that I noticed that, the cutting of the table, I thought to myself, that was really specific. And they're not even hiding the crash pad, which I thought was really odd. I was just wondering, like, maybe they just they might have lost somebody. Maybe somebody's like working on COVID that was dealing with the production of the match. But these are just things that don't typically happen in WWE. And, they're not always going to be perfect. But these two men gave us a really well produced match. They worked each other really well. There was lots of moments, as your son has actually said before we went live on air, there was a lot of moments where I thought Shin was going to win the match. I was genuinely thinking like, oh, he's going to win. And here we go. Seth Rollins comes out with the W. What were your initial thoughts or your overall thoughts of this match?
I thought it was very well done. I thought it was very well produced. I enjoyed the pacing of it. I enjoyed the fact that they didn't really rush too into it. You know,
Mhm.
every from where they started to where they finished, there was like a slow progression. It got
Mhm.
harder and harder for the guy to get up. Um, some of the spots in the crowd were a little predictable. They were a little easily you could easily spot it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know what it was. It wasn't done to the best of its ability. The table cut too, I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
But again, hey, look, I understand what they're doing. The effectiveness of the spot was still there. The live audience
Mhm.
was still into it. People watching it were still into it. It was still a good match. And nobody got hurt and nobody broke their leg and whatever, like they do in some other companies. But you could see the level of professionalism there. I loved all the little spots that they had. I loved the ladder spot. I loved Seth rolling out of the ring to stand up just to fall
Mhm.
back down, to get to the count. I thought they did a great job getting everything over. I know that a lot of people expected a potential cash in, but
Mm.
Priest taking out his knee. See, even that, the way they teased that, because you
Mhm.
had texted me, you said, "Hey, you think Priest is gonna, you think tonight is the night?" And I said, only if they lose the tag titles before the main event, right?
Yeah.
Or only if they lose the tag titles. And what ended up happening? They lost the tag titles. So they kind of teased it. But then they
Yeah.
had that vignette, that backstage vignette where he's like, nah, and then Rhea takes the case from him, you know? And that was just perfect because you held that out the whole show. So you still had that anticipation for this potential cash in,
Mhm.
And even with the match, you still had it. But I thought these guys delivered a great match. I know there was a lot of people complaining that Nakamura got ruined. Nakamura didn't get ruined, dude. Nakamura was in a world title feud with one of the most over guys in the company and had
Agreed.
great
I
matches.
didn't see
You're not
anything
getting
like that.
ruined.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
He's
no, no. He this is the best version. Triple H just said what we've said. For the past couple months, you and I have been having conversations talking about Nakamura, that this is the version of Nakamura that we really wanted to see. And Triple H said the same exact thing on the scrum yesterday. He said, this is the knock I've always wanted to see. So I would not be surprised if we're going to continue to get more of this version of Nakamura. There was a comment in the chat earlier today that WWE should let the Japanese wrestlers speak English. I disagree. This whole letting them speaking in Japanese, that's perfect because we grew up with Eddie Guerrero, we grew up with Alberto Del Rio, we grew up with these guys that use a lot of their dialect. Eddie isn't over the way he is if he doesn't speak like half English, half Spanish. He kind of had to
yeah,
do the Spanglish thing. That's what got him over. That's why he was so great at it. Besides the fact that he's one of the best in-ring performers ever, but that really
absolutely.
worked. And I love the fact that Nakamura is using this whole anime thing. Anime it's very popular right now with like One Piece on Netflix, and it's just coming. It's really, really jumping into this generation. And obviously, there's anime related to Shinsuke Nakamura. It's a really great spot. But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on everything in the match. But before we sign off here, if you,
Oh, the
I wanted.
mist. The mist real quick. Can we just talk? Yeah,
Oh
because
yes, yes.
that was
So
another talking point online.
yes, absolutely. So, as being reported by many wrestling fans and some pundits, apparently Shinsuke Nakamura was given the grace of using the mist directly by the Great Muta for him to be able to use it when he feels like using it. And he chose to use red mist in this match. And it worked really well because it led to a Apollo Creed and Rocky like jumping up at the very last second of Seth Rollins. But what were your thoughts of the fact that he finally unveiled the mist?
I thought it was cool.
Hmm.
And I thought it was a nice element to add to the match. I mean, again, they're telling a story in there, and in a last man standing match, you're in there, you're against this guy, and to further your point before, he's being presented as a killer now. He's being presented as who he really is. He's being presented as a badass. A lot of people
Yeah.
get caught up in all the and all that stuff. They get caught up in that, but I mean, you look at this guy's background, he's a legit badass, like
Yes.
he's no joke. So the way they're presenting him, what they're doing, I think is fantastic. Him utilizing that in that type of match is excellent. It's a testament to his, his intelligence in the ring, like
Mhm.
all these little details, that go for creating that. And I thought it was cool. Again, I know there was a lot of people that were like complaining, saying, well, I guess this is just the WWE being narrow-minded or xenophobic,
Mhm.
and all Japanese people can use the mist. And look, what you just said.
Mhm.
I'm glad that came out, that the Great Muta said it was cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because even if it didn't, dude, who has a trademark on the mist? Nobody has a trademark on the mist. He does that out of
No,
respect. So at the end of the
absolutely
day,
not.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a great match. Another great match from two top talents, and you're starting to see kind of the cracks in the armor on Seth Rollins as world champion. What that leads to, we don't know.
Absolutely. Just like in the Scream movies, when you can predict the villains just by looking at their shoes, we can kind of predict what's going to happen now because the commentators continue to point out how much longer can he go at this pace. It's almost leading us to him eventually dropping the title. If you pay attention to the subtle hints, there'll be some callbacks and you can actually see that that's what's happening. But before we sign off here, Pat, I just wanted to get your take on it. What here on the Must Love Wrestling podcast, we like to use the empanada scale. We use 1 through 5. What is your scale? If you could say 1 through 5 for this show, what would you give it?
You know what? I'm gonna say 4 and a full empanada that like a kid took a bite out of.
I like it.
A
Okay.
little bite.
Yeah,
you know?
I like it. I think that's a really good one. I'm gonna say 3.5 empanadas just based off the fact that there were a couple lowlights for me, and there were just some things that I really wanted that didn't happen. I really felt like there should have been a little bit more in certain aspects, but overall, I thought the show was great. I think that I'm scaling it 3.5 because they've just produced so many great premium live events, and I just don't know if this holds up to Fastlane. If it holds, to Payback. If it holds up to Backlash, that's kind of what I'm looking like. Not every premium live event can get like a top rating. That's how I look at it. They've just given us so much good. But so if you can pick a
Meltzer, is that what you're saying? You're the answer.
Yeah. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment and be like, "Oh, I just watched this, so I'm going to give it 5 empanadas." No, I'm not doing that. Okay. But right before we sign on, if you could just give us your star of the night. Who is your star of the night?
Woo! Wow, this is
I know I'm coming at you hot with that last question.
No, this is a good one though. This is a really, really good one. But you know what? The star of the night to me is none other than Cody Rhodes.
Love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. Yes, I wanted to say Charlotte Flair because I think her in that spot, but I cannot get over what Cody was able to do in that match. And I completely agree with you. Cody Rhodes was the star of the night for me. This seems like it is just his time. And I look at a lot of people have made the comment before that Roman Reigns doesn't need the titles to be the top guy. We're watching that come true with a guy like Cody Rhodes. He doesn't need the championship to be the top guy. He's just the top guy when Roman's not there. Now, when Roman shows up on Friday, Cody's not the top guy anymore.
Right.
But when Roman's gone, Cody holds everything. He holds it down. So I would definitely agree with you. So, thank you so much for joining me, brother. I loved having you on. I hope to be able to continue for you to helping out and stuff like that. Bang, bang, Niner Gang. Guys, if you want to catch Paddy Rican, jump over to our sister podcast over Working the Marks. It records every Wednesday night, and I was able to be lucky enough to ask to join the family there too. I'm excited. You'll be able to join Pat, and you'll be able to join Uribe when he decides to pop in. So far, he has become a special attraction. That's what it has been.
Yeah,
he has become a special attraction. So, Pat, is there anything you want to put yourself over on before we go?
Just check out the Child Actors on Instagram. Give us a look. We're making some noise. We got a couple of gigs coming up, probably some merch and some new music in the new year. But all in all, just thanks for having me on. Been dying to make my debut here on Must Love Wrestling, and look forward to seeing more great content from you and Tyler. The Paddy Rican connection. I'd like to get some credit for that, and I'd also like some royalties if you guys make merch.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
but certainly great to be here, and always great to chop it up. All things wrestling with you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and for the people in the chat.
One last thing. Yeet.
We'll sign it off there. Thanks so much. All right, love you, bro.
Love you, man. Bang, bang, nah.